Adam was driving home after a long shift when his phone buzzed with a message that froze his breath. Jenna, his wife of 6 years, had sent a cold, emotionless text saying she was leaving him. She added that she had drained their joint account and that he would never see her again. Before he could even process the words, her number went dark. No calls. No replies. Nothing. To Jenna, this was her grand exit. Her final power move. She believed she had just detonated Adam's finances and walked away with $80,000 to start a new life with the man she'd been secretly seeing. She imagined Adam collapsing under the weight of debt and humiliation, while she disappeared into a fresh, luxurious beginning. But what Jenna didn't know, what she couldn't even imagine, was that the account she emptied wasn't his downfall. It was the trap she had set for herself. Jenna had always believed she was the smartest person in any room, especially when it came to money. She had worked in banking for years and often lectured Adam about financial literacy, credit structure, and how people who don't understand loans get eaten alive. So when she opened a business credit line 2 years earlier, she did everything herself. She set it up under her name, signed every document, and later added Adam as nothing more than an authorized user so he could put small work expenses on the card. Adam didn't question it. He trusted her. But 8 months before she walked out, Adam received a letter from the bank about the account. The letter listed him as an authorized user only, with zero liability, and all legal and financial responsibility tied solely to Jenna. He didn't confront her. He didn't make a scene. He quietly put the letter back in the drawer and went on with his life. At the time, he didn't think it meant anything. He couldn't have known Jenna was already planning her exit. Karen was the first person to understand that something was very wrong with Jenna. She had seen her sister spiral before, but never like this. Frantic calls, incoherent rants, and sudden silence that lasted for hours. After Jenna's attempts to contact Adam failed, she turned her emotional chaos toward her family, insisting that Adam had destroyed her and that the bank was lying. But Karen wasn't convinced. She had always suspected Jenna's relationship with Adam wasn't as perfect as Jenna bragged, and she definitely sensed something off about Jenna's sudden influx of money before she left him. Jenna's panic didn't stop at Tyler disappearing. Once she realized the debt was real, and in her name alone, she scrambled for anyone who might save her. Her first idea was to hire a lawyer, but with almost no money left, she settled for the cheapest attorney she could find, someone who promised results but barely skimmed her documents. She marched into his office waving screenshots of credit statements, convinced she had proof that Adam was responsible for half of everything she had spent. The lawyer nodded politely, took her retainer, and filed a demand letter that would later become a punchline. Jenna walked into the courthouse with a stack of disorganized papers and the shaky confidence of someone who had already lost, but refused to accept it. Her cheap lawyer had dropped her weeks earlier, and with no savings left, she had decided to represent herself. She imagined a dramatic courtroom moment where she would expose Adam as the villain, win sympathy from the judge, and somehow reverse the financial disaster she'd created. But the courthouse wasn't a movie, and the judge wasn't interested in theatrics. He was interested in facts. Adam arrived with his attorney, calm and collected, carrying only a small folder. Jenna glared at him, convinced he was playing the victim. She started her opening argument with shaking hands, accusing Adam of manipulating her, trapping her in debt, and abandoning her. Her voice cracked as she tried to sound confident, but the judge cut her off and asked for documentation. When she handed over her chaotic pile of papers, the judge focused on 3 pieces: the credit line contract, the account statements, and the employment records she had been forced to submit. He asked her 3 simple questions. Did you open this account under your name alone? Jenna shifted uncomfortably. Yes. Did you withdraw the full amount of $80,000? Her throat tightened. Yes. Did you voluntarily leave your job before any of this happened? She hesitated, as if searching for a loophole. Yes. The judge leaned back, expression unreadable. It took him less than a minute to rule that Adam held no responsibility for her debt, that the money she spent was solely her liability, and that there were no grounds for spousal support. Jenna's jaw dropped as he added that due to the baseless accusations and needless litigation, she would also be responsible for Adam's legal fees. The room felt like it was spinning. But the humiliation didn't stop there. Adam's attorney submitted an additional packet, evidence that Jenna had repeatedly called Adam's workplace, leaving angry voicemails, making accusations, and even threatening to show up at the office. Adam's employer had filed a harassment complaint, and security logs showed Jenna loitering outside the building on 2 separate occasions. The judge's tone hardened as he reviewed the documents. He issued a formal no-contact order and warned Jenna that any violation could result in criminal charges. Jenna tried to interrupt, insisting the calls were emotional outreach, not harassment. But the judge reminded her sharply that the court wasn't a place for excuses. Her voice crumbled into a quiet plea, but no one was listening anymore. Even her family, seated behind her, had lowered their heads in embarrassment. When the session ended, Adam walked out without looking back. Jenna stayed seated, staring blankly at the courtroom wall, realizing she had not only lost the marriage but also her dignity, her credibility, and the last chance she had to shift blame. She had imagined the courtroom as her redemption. Instead, it became the moment she was publicly stripped of every illusion she'd been clinging to. And as she stepped outside into the cold air, the weight of her decisions finally began to settle on her shoulders, heavier than any debt notice could ever be. Jenna's life began to unravel faster than she could lie her way through it. The $80,000 she had blown in a matter of weeks had left nothing behind except credit card bills, late fees, and a rising interest rate that climbed past 25%. Every statement from the bank looked worse than the last. Her new life with Tyler had evaporated, leaving her alone in an overpriced apartment she could no longer afford and surrounded by luxury items she couldn't return. She tried selling a few handbags, but the resale prices barely made a dent. The bank officially classified her account as delinquent and moved it into collections. Letters arrived daily. Phone calls came early in the morning and late at night. Every ring made her stomach drop. Jenna attempted to apply for a consolidation loan, and each rejection letter felt like a slap. Her credit score had collapsed under the weight of missed payments and maxed out lines. No lender wanted her. Her parents refused to bail her out, exhausted by the constant chaos she'd created. They told her she needed to take responsibility for once, which only sent Jenna into another spiral of anger. She tried creating an online fundraiser, posting a tearful video claiming she was a victim of financial abuse. She hoped sympathy donations would rescue her. But people recognized her story from the posts she had deleted earlier, and the comments quickly filled with skepticism and mockery. Within 2 days, the fundraiser collected only $17 before she took it down. Desperation made her reckless. Even with the restraining order in place, Jenna called Adam's office again, leaving voicemails begging him to do the right thing. Security caught her outside the building shortly after. She insisted she just wanted to talk, but intent didn't matter anymore. She was arrested for violating the no-contact order and spent 48 miserable hours in a holding cell. The cold concrete floor and the humiliating intake process were nothing like the glamorous life she once imagined for herself. It was the first time she truly understood what rock bottom might feel like. When she was released, Jenna made one last stab at escape, filing for bankruptcy. But she couldn't even do that cleanly. She attempted to hide valuables she'd purchased with the credit line, claiming she no longer had them. Investigators found inconsistencies and opened a fraud inquiry. Suddenly, Jenna wasn't just drowning in debt. She was flirting with federal charges. The fear clawed at her, but instead of facing reality, she lashed out at everyone around her. Her family had finally reached their breaking point. Her mother told her she couldn't stay at the house anymore. Her father suggested she take a job, any job, and stop pretending she was above basic work. They enrolled her in a community financial management course. Hopping structure would help her regain control. But Jenna rebelled at every step. She stormed out of classes. She refused entry-level positions her parents recommended. She claimed she was too educated and too experienced to work minimum-wage jobs. But the world didn't care about her pride. She was broke, unemployed, and spiraling. Every bridge she tried to cross ended up burned behind her. Every excuse she used sounded less convincing, even to herself. Her life was shrinking, her options narrowing, until all that remained was the uncomfortable truth she had spent months running from. She had destroyed her own future, and no one was coming to save her. Jenna eventually found work, but not the kind she had ever imagined for herself. After weeks of rejection and a credit score that scared off even the most desperate of employers, she accepted a position at a call center. Not just any call center, one that specialized in debt collection. The irony was so sharp, it almost felt like punishment crafted specifically for her. She spent her days calling strangers to remind them of overdue balances, reading from the same scripts that collectors used on her just months earlier. Each time she said the words, "Failure to make payment may result in additional fees," she felt something inside her sink a little further. In the end, Jenna's life settled into a quiet, colorless routine she had never envisioned for herself. She woke each morning to the same dim light seeping through thin curtains, the same hollow silence, the same awareness of how far she had fallen. There were no more frantic schemes, no more dramatic confrontations, no more hopes of fixing what had been destroyed. Only the weight of consequences and the slow grind of time. Sometimes she replayed everything, wondering which moment had sealed her fate. She always circled back to the same truth. She had chosen every step that led her here. No one had pushed her. No one had tricked her. She had crafted her own downfall carefully, stubbornly, and completely. Adam rarely thought of her anymore, and when he did, it was only as a distant lesson about boundaries and trust. His life continued forward, while hers remained suspended, defined by the wreckage she refused to acknowledge until it was too late. There was no redemption waiting around the corner for Jenna. No miracle, no forgiveness, no unexpected rescue. Just the quiet understanding that some losses cannot be undone, and some paths, once taken, can never lead back home.